I don't know why. I always feel a little nervous. I don't know. I'm going to have to dig into that. Eastern Puerto Rico. And their descendants of the United States, Texas and New York. Puerto Rico. Okay. Well, I definitely don't have Puerto Rican ancestry. Hi, I'm Danielle Romero. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel where we talk about American identity and family stories. And I took a DNA test and I got like the raw data from that. I've talked a little bit about my DNA test, how they've changed a lot, the updates, and I haven't been too impressed with the results. The ancestry communities are awesome. 23andMe haplogroups, awesome. But I decided to use MyHeritage. Now, they're not paying for this. They didn't sponsor me. In fact, I paid them to do this test, $29. And all I had to do was upload the raw DNA that I had already uploaded to like 23andMe or something. So you can download it off 23andMe, upload it to MyHeritage, and I'm really excited to see what the results are. And I know that we can't hang our hat on these percentages so much, but I think that if there's any consistency across the tests, that's important. I also want to compare to a feature that 23andMe has where you can kind of see a timeline of how recent is this ancestry, which was pretty cool. So I'm going to show that too. But first, let's just get right into it. I want to show you the results from the MyHeritage test and talk with you a little bit. They also have some community groups, I think. So I want to see if those are accurate. So let's go over there and see what MyHeritage says. Okay, so I'm on their site. Their page is kind of weird. Like, I don't totally understand what Romero website means. I think it's just something that happens when you sign up, because I didn't type any of this stuff. So I don't know any of that stuff is. But let's hop over to the DNA and see what is happening. All right, so let's do ethnicity estimate first. I don't know why. I always feel a little nervous doing these, even though it's like it doesn't really matter. Okay, oh boy. Okay. All right. So let's start with, let me X out of this. Okay, so it's saying 29% Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. And then it's getting a little more specific, Ireland, County Cork, County Kerry, and Limerick County. Okay, that I think is a little bit high. My great-grandfather was 100% Irish. His dad came over from Belfast, I think. And so a lot of the other tests, they'll give me, the Irish is always fluctuating. My Ancestry DNA test went from 5% Irish to 18, then it like went back down. So this is the highest I've ever seen, but I'm glad to see it on there. I'm glad it's being called Irish and not British, because paper trail, everything I know about my family, he was Irish. Okay. 29% Italian, but then also 19.5% Greek and Southern Italian. Okay, so most of my family is Southern Italian. I don't know if that was just broadly Italian because they don't know. And then the Greek and Southern Italian makes sense. On Ancestry, they had given me like, I can't remember if it was like 12 or 15% Aegean Islands, which is basically, it's Greece. So that's super cool. I don't think that we actually have any recent ancestry to Greece. I think it's just probably part of being Southern Italian and what happened historically in that area. But that's really cool. All right, so then North and West European, they give me 3%. Like France, okay, I definitely should have some French. I think you're not allowed to do a DNA test in France because I always thought I would have more French. So I'm wondering if like something is confused there with the Irish, just having that Louisiana Creole heritage, having that Acadian heritage, I would have expected a little bit higher French. So at least it's there, 3.2%. I'll take it. All right, next, Mesoamerican and Andean, 7.7%. Okay, so what I know about my family story with the indigenous side is, I've talked about this, but my mom's haplogroup is indigenous. It's C1C. So is her mom's because it's maternal haplogroup C1C. So is mine. My communities are usually San Antonio or Coahuila, Tejas in Mexico. So I'm surprised to see this so far down because I don't know how, like, I don't think I have ancestry going down that far. So I don't know if that's correct. Like, I think the percentage is probably correct, but I think they may have, like, Andean is just nothing. I have no paper trail for anything like that. And that would be so far back. So I'm surprised that it's not showing. I mean, it is showing Mexico, so maybe all of that goes together. Guadalajara, I think I had family from there. Okay. So I don't know. Let me know if you have seen, like, why would Mesoamerican Andean? I mean, it's cool, but I don't know if that's accurate. Okay. Next one. So Africa is separated into two. It's basically on here is about 8%. So on my original 23andMe test, I had like 5% Nigerian and then like 15% North African, but North African's actually separated here from that. And we'll get into that. So the Nigerian has me about, about what I would have expected in the location I would have expected based on my family story. And thankfully, some incredible historians have done a lot of work, especially Elizabeth Schoen Mills and the late Gary Mills did a lot of work in Louisiana with Louisiana records. And I was able to pinpoint at least one, maybe it's like 6th great-grandfather, 7th great-grandfather, who was born in Africa and I believe came over on the Middle Passage as a baby. And I usually get like Benin and Togo, Nigeria. And again, when you are looking historically at, people who have enslaved ancestry in the U.S. South, a lot of times you're going to see this region. So that makes sense to me. I don't know about the numbers. And then North African, they're saying 1.2%. I think this is probably connected to my dad's side because that's the side where I had that 15% Middle Eastern and I wasn't totally sure what was happening there because I think when it broke down it was like Egypt and Iran and Morocco. I think those were the 3 places. So this says North Africa and I want to look at their communities too. And then they have Middle Eastern again, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. Okay. So this is pretty broad based on the other tests I've taken. I think Israel and what is now Iran. But what was interesting with the 23andMe test was I actually had trace amounts of 23andMe gave me like a timeline. And so they had me as like Italian coming in at like, the most recent ancestry, which is totally accurate because my dad's grandparents didn't come over until like 1923 from Italy. So it's accurate. British and Irish, well, I know that I have that Irish ancestry around the 1800s. So that's accurate. But then you see all of these. But the Melanesian, I was like, I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know why that would be there. I can't really account for it. So this one was kind of neat because I feel like it broke up the African into much more specific areas. But I don't know what Melanesian, I don't even know how that could be connected, what side of the family it would be. So I didn't see that on this test. So Middle Eastern and then, okay, so then here are my genetic groups. I think this is kind of like for Ancestry, you have those awesome Ancestry communities. I love those. So Creoles of color in Louisiana. All right, so that's spot on. Louisiana, confidence level high for that. Okay. Southern USA, medium. Eastern Puerto Rico. And they're descendants of the United States, Texas and New York, Puerto Rico. Okay. I definitely don't have Puerto Rican ancestry. My husband does, but I don't. So I don't know if it's getting confused maybe with the Creole. I don't know. French settlers in central Louisiana. I definitely have that. And then UK, Ireland. So it's missing. I don't have genetic groups for being Italian, which is weird because I feel like that's my biggest chunk. That's my most recent chunk. So this is pretty cool. So the map, it's just amazing to me, even if you just have trace amounts like I do of some of these things, just going back to this, I think about sitting here and I'm just an American. I'm American from New York. And yet all of these people groups coming together, if one thing had been different, I wouldn't have been here. If one of the bad things hadn't happened, I wouldn't have been here. If maybe some of the more beautiful things that happened in the past hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. And it, for me at least, has changed my heart, and I think opened up my heart to help me love people better. And, you know, like I've spoken about this before, I'm a Christian, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And, you know, he told us what to do. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. And wow, it really doesn't even feel hard to love my neighbor when I see my neighbor in me. I see how we're connected. Now, not everybody is going to have this exact blend, but that's okay, because I think even doing this work, even if we could say these aren't accurate, don't take this as gospel, right? But it's going to give you some insight into your family's story and how far-reaching that family story really is. And it's beautiful. Now, I don't know what this Eastern European is, actually. I'm looking at this, super curious. I don't see anything necessarily on here. I don't know. This, you know what I mean? Like, you can't take this as gospel. And it's interesting. Most of the time, this lines up pretty well with my paper trail, but I think sometimes you get groups like Louisiana Creoles or either Southern Italians where we use these phrases, but really being Southern Italian can mean having a lot of diverse, distant ancestry, as you can see on my test. So let me know what you think about this. I think the most shocking thing here is I think that the Southern Italian and Greek, they kind of robbed from the Middle Eastern that I usually get. And the Mesoamerican and Andean is confusing. So I'm going to have to look into that. I'm curious about that. I was doing some ancestry work on my dad's side. My dad's, all his grandparents are Italian, Southern Italian, and came over from Italy. And on his dad's side, like a third grandmother or something is listed in a couple places as being born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. She's listed as having an Italian father, at least with an Italian last name. This is in the 1700s, the late 1700s, and an unknown mother. Well, when you know how this works, right? Most of the time, the men are taking women. Maybe they're not even marrying them, but they're taking women. She was actually listed as the legitimate daughter, so I'm assuming he married this woman's mother, but she was listed as being born in Brazil. And so I was wondering about that. I was just talking this week, if you're on Facebook with me, I don't do a ton on there, but I was on there and kind of figuring out, why would my Italian grandpa have like a second great grandmother born in Brazil? Well, now I'm looking at this. I would have assumed all of that Native American, that Mesoamerican is coming from my mom's side, but who knows? A lot of our ancestors were people of the world. And yeah, and you can see that here. So I don't know exactly what the genetic group's confidence level is. So mine, they're talking not about the ancestry, but they're talking about like the actual group. So if I change that, it's saying really the highest confidence that they have is Creoles of color in Louisiana, and just Louisiana, which I love. Love Louisiana. Love my family there. So I'm so excited about that. And if I go to low confidence, which I'm guessing they're saying this is, they think it's accurate, but they're not totally sure on it, they add in, New York, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and New York, Irish settlers. Okay. All right. So it's not that much off. The Puerto Rico thing is not right. Like, I don't know what's happening there. So this was interesting. Let me know if you took a MyHeritage test. It was only $29. And I love seeing how, yeah, some stuff might be wrong, but it might also get some things right that I can now go back to my paper trail and my family stories and match it up. So that Mesoamerican Andean thing was totally shocking. I don't know. I'm going to have to dig into that. So let me know if you've done the MyHeritage. Let me know what you think about these results. And if you're interested in seeing any of the other videos I've done about my DNA tests, I'll leave a link to that below. Otherwise, we'll talk soon.